as it is as of next week. We've had this time and time again, but we haven't heard of the voice of the students who might be affected with this particular strike. Well, what say you about this?
Thank you so much. I think my comment on that is that the Kenya University Students Organization, we are solidly behind UASU in their quest of course, their salaries being increased, simply because we have seen our lecturers sacrificing a lot, although, of course, there is a disconnect right now because of the many students studying online. They are doing their classes online. But I don't see why the lecturers should not be, should not have their salaries increased. So I think the government should take this moment to seal their deal. And the strike that they are planning, we are solidly behind it, and we are in support, 100%.
Okay. Kevin, I don't know if you're the voice of the students in this particular scenario, because I studied in a public school, and we well know of the disruptions that occur every time this particular strikes happen. Of course, it's within their right, but in terms of the effect on the students, well, what do you have to say on this?
Okay, for me, on the strike, it is so absurd for the administration to just come up with policies and raise the fees for the students. Not all students come from the same background.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, like there's a higher percentage of comrades who come from a very not poor but humble backgrounds. So you find that they are the help that they normally get, they use it to pay the school fees. So like they also struggle, they hustle around the school premises selling their stuffs. So it is so bad if the school fees is just being raised and the student leaders are not called on the table, so that agreement is put on set. Yeah.
Okay. Perhaps add your voice to that. The fee being raised, I'm sure that's a thorny issue as the president of KUSO.
Yeah, quite precisely, my friend, because I think over the past, we have seen students' school fees has never been increased. If you look at the WOW's agenda through United Nations and also African Union, Agenda 2063, United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, number 4 is quality education. And if you look at the way these universities, especially University of Nairobi, is doing by increasing school fees without consulting anyone. They have not consulted KUSO, which is the supreme body representing students nationally. They have not consulted University of Nairobi Students Association, which is UNSA, which is the body mandated to represent the interests of University of Nairobi students. Have they consulted also Commission of University Education? Have they consulted also the Parliamentary Committee on Education? Have they consulted the ministry? Recently, if you remember, the Minister of Education, rather CS Professor Magoha, said that school fees should never be increased without actually comprehensive and thorough consultations with the various stakeholders. Now, if you increase school fees for students,
all right,
and you're not even consulting their representatives, and they're the ones who will be directly, affected, then I think that is very uncouth, very barbaric. In fact, we are like moving backwards instead of forward. Secondly, I would also want to say that this strategy they have used divide and rule. It's an old tactic in Art of War, Sun Tzu's Art of War. Whereby you tell second years, third year, fourth years, and maybe for these serious courses like medicine and architecture, 50 years and 60 years, you guys, you're not supposed to pay more. But these guys who have no experience whatsoever with the university education, you guys, because you're coming new, we are going to increase school fees for you, especially Module 2 students. Now, I feel those people have no student leaders to represent them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are not even yet in the university. They will just see a fee structure and then come and pay for the education. I would tell you, as KUSO, we will not accept. With a lot of totality, we will not accept at all. Simply because if you see even how they increase in school fees, it's almost double. And coming from a pandemic, which has been very harsh in terms of economic input on parents, we are all hard hit economically.
Okay.
So we will not accept. Very soon you will see us supporting those first years. We will reverse. At the end of the day, you cannot tell us to pay kilazima.
Allow me to ask, have you asked them to come to the table? Because you've mentioned the pandemic, and we well know that public universities are also feeling pressure when it comes to their coffers running dry. Have you brought them to the table, asked to negotiate on this increment or fee?
They know very well.
No.
It's a matter of ignorance. Let's say, for instance, the University of Nairobi, they consult UASO, which is the body representing lecturers.
Okay.
They consult sometimes Minister of Education, but depends on which body serves their interests. But they never consult students, even University of Nairobi Student Association. That is why, actually, as we advance, I will comment about the bill which was advanced by Duale, which has affected democracy in our institutions. Now, some of these institutions, they have very weak student leadership. And these student leaders, they don't go there to serve the interests of students. They go there to serve the interests of the administration, which shows that university students will be seriously oppressed.
Okay.
When students are they are subjected to things like suspensions, expulsions, they are not people to represent their interests. When school fees are raised, these students, they go to Senate meetings. That is why I request, because we are on national television, the student leaders, if you are elected by students to represent them, if you go to that Senate meeting, if you go to that university management board meeting, maybe you are called as an ex-committee or something, please ensure you represent the interests of those who voted for you, because they have no any other voice to represent them.
All right. As simple as that. So as we continue with this discussion, we tend to look back at the democracy around student leadership. Do you think we're as vibrant as we used to be back in the day? I can go back to the times of James Orengo back in campus politics and actively engaging in the national discourse, or rather recently, the instances of Babu Owino, who rose from campus politics to national politics as well. Are the youth currently right now vibrant, or it all has to do with the democratic space that they have? What's your take on this?
Okay, first of all, I will say that in student leadership, the students who are elected to be leaders, they don't know the meaning between leadership and politics. Yeah, so you see, they really have hard time governing the students. Just like my friend Manyara said, some of the students, they got there to serve the interest of the administration. They're forgetting that there are those students who come from, like I said, the humble backgrounds. And if they cannot be supported, their voices must be supported. And if you come to be a leader, you must also obey the 4 principles of being a student leader. Yeah. So for me, I'm also in support of the comrades' desires being fulfilled, of course, by the student leaders who are elected. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anthony Manyara, but what say you about this? Are you less vibrant as your predecessors?
Well, I can say, personally, I'm an architect. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm pursuing law now in first year. So
okay.
We can say that it's not about vibrance. Vibrance, we have been there before, but we have seen what institutions do, especially when you come out doing something very, handy. We have seen in the past the likes of Orengo, just like you have said. You have seen Kabando wa Kabando. You have seen all the way from the first Sonu chair, who was Titus Adugosi. Now, there's a serious disconnect between the vibrance, activism, student activism that is there currently and the one which was there before. There's a very serious difference. The reason is that times have changed. That's for a fact. And then also, the government has over time, trying to suppress, trying to maybe reduce the powers of students. In the past, we had seen students fighting for multi-party democracy. We had seen students fighting for various issues. And then again, also, it's a problem on our part also, because civic duty, or rather caring about our nation, should be intrinsic, should not come out from a push. Especially university students, they should be able to fight for their country. They should be able to fight for issues that relate with the common mwananchi. Nowadays, we don't see that. If, for instance, I plan for a strike today, how many students come out? Very few, especially the students who are doing political science, law, maybe a few BA students. But will students taking architecture, or rather engineering, come out? They won't.
I'm sure they'll be tweeting about it.
Okay. Maybe, just like I've said, times have changed.
Yes.
And of course, there's a serious reduction in terms of vibrance as it was before. Because nowadays, students I think they're not keen on political issues. And you know, politics affects everything, even the air we breathe. If, for instance, the government decides to maybe release some gas in the air, definitely we'll all be affected.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I get your point. But as we talk about this, Kevin, is it because we're a microwave generation? I'm trying to find the source of this disconnect, because he's also mentioned a couple of bills that were pushed through Parliament, through Honorable Aden Duale, who is sponsoring it. What do you think is the root cause of us taking that laxity approach and saying perhaps we don't need to be actively involved in the day-to-day political landscape of the country? But what's it?
Okay, for me, the young leaders who are the youths and who are leaders in various institutions, not just University of Nairobi, I think they should just they should stand firm, and they should come strong together. And this is not by fulfilling the like pleasing the administration, rather. Yeah, like they should just come strong. You know. In terms of, like my friend have said, politics affects everything, yeah. And the bill that Duale had passed also affected the democracy of students. Like if you look like back the Sonu time, yeah, like you see there was that democracy, like students, like the students had their wills were being fulfilled.
Yeah, and their voice was heard.
And their voice was heard because they were doing like one man, one vote.
Okay.
Yeah, that one they were feeling nice. But for now, it has been reduced. Nowadays, it is the delegates who do that, and you don't know if that election is going to be affected.
Oh, no.
So you find that maybe the leader who is brought there to serve the students does not fulfill the interest of the students, rather fulfills the interest of the administration. Now I'm talking about the overall students, not just the University of Nairobi. But you know, the University of Nairobi is the core center. Like anything that happens in University of Nairobi affects all the other universities.
Okay.
Like you, in the side of the fee increment, like when fee increment was implemented by our Vice Chancellor, Professor Kiama, in the University of Nairobi, you find that all the other VCs, yeah, they also just woke up and
do
the same approach, yeah, which was not very right.
So what's the difference between the past in terms of student representation and right now? Because we've heard of delegates who are supposed to represent the students. What changed after this new law was enacted?
Allow me first of all to take you back in 2018. I became the first University of Nairobi Students Association, UNSA, chairman. That is when the law which was proposed came to being. Students elected their leaders through a delegate system. Quite before when Babuino was the chairman, who I took over apparently, students were voting directly, and it was very effective. I participated in those processes because before I became UNSA chairman, I contested for 2 times. One in the College of Architecture and Engineering governor, the other one representing School of the Built Environment. Now, on these two occasions, students would vote directly. They would go one student, one vote, and they will elect their leaders directly. But nowadays, in many institutions, in the country actually we have 35 public institutions and 36 private institutions, rather universities. We don't so much follow the politics involving TVET institutions much. But in the universities, we have seen them elect the council. The council is elected by delegates. Those delegates are elected by students. But it varies in different institutions. But what I'm just trying to say is that quite before, a student would make a serious decision that I will vote for this person, and he would vote. Nowadays, you can only vote through another student leader. So
let me get this. Previously, if I wanted to vote for you, I'd be able to vote for you as a president.
Yeah, sure.
But right now, I vote for a delegate who might be Kevin right here, who goes ahead and votes for who they think will be the university's leadership.
The greatest flaw of this process is that even the people who are planning these kind of laws, I've seen a serious flaw, which is why subject various students, it's just like a class war. Why should you subject students who come from very humble backgrounds, not accessing leadership because they cannot afford to pay in delegates? Because these delegates, you will just have, like, for instance, the University of Nairobi, we have 36 of them, who you have to woo, who you have apparently talked to nicely for them to support you. I don't see, like, if that that delegate voting has worked for the students. It has not completely. And going in the near future, because we have done petitions severally as KUSO in the National Assembly, trying to, to overturn this whole process so that the students can be able to elect their leaders again as it was before. And we will win. It's only that I think the government tends, even institutions, they tend to conspire and take their interest in the national level.
But there must have been a reason why this particular system was brought to universities.
They were saying students are too aggressive. They are too aggressive. They are going the streets. They are closing, roads. They are blocking cars. They are maybe smashing windows of various, buildings in the city. But I don't see that as a substantive reason of maybe changing the course. Because it's very simple. When we have elections next year, we cannot tell whether there will be peace or no peace. We cannot tell whether roads will be closed or not closed. We have seen in Kenya that there are different factions, like if this person is elected president, this other person must complain. We have not reached to a point whereby someone comes and maybe calls the press and says, oh, I've accepted, just like the way we see in the US. Here we have to see people fight all the time. It's just the same with the university leadership. Why should you not give students their freedom? Let them elect their leaders directly. Simply, even you, who is a school administrator, Professor Kema, for instance, he was a student at the University of Nairobi. When he was a student, did he elect his leader directly or through a delegate system? Of course, directly. Why should you subject people to draconian laws when you are up here, but when you are here, you are very fine with it? It doesn't make sense.